Hey everyone, you're tuned in to Turkish series stars, the home of the whispers, the heartbeats, and the truth behind the smiles. Settle in, make sure you're subscribed, and share this with the friends who can't stop talking about the latest twists, because tonight we're walking into a quiet storm surrounding Barış Baktaş and the decision that has the entire entertainment world murmuring. We're talking about a move simple on paper, seismic in the heart. A door closing behind him, an elevator ride in silence, and the certainty that this time, he isn't just leaving a house. He's walking away from memories that once felt like forever, memories named Yağmur Yüksel. For weeks, the whispers have grown louder, that Barış had been considering a change long before anyone noticed boxes or saw a van lurking at the curb at odd hours. Friends say the choice didn't arrive in a flash. It trickled in during long evenings after set, where the sound of the refrigerator and the hum of the city kept him company. That same home once echoed with laughter, shared tea, lazy mornings, and plans drawn in pencil and hope. The very corners kept their secrets, the kind that make a person smile and then suddenly go quiet. And that, they say, is exactly why he made up his mind, to gently fold the past and set it on a shelf he no longer had to pass every day. Those close to Barış insist this isn't a public statement, it's a private ritual. He wanted out of the spotlight for this, to do something not for cameras or headlines, but for his own breathing room. One by one, he gathered his belongings, not rushing, not lingering, simply moving. The quiet was deliberate. The care was deliberate. And so, too, was the choice not to leave behind the small reminders that could tug at him on difficult days. A scarf left on a chair, a cup with a faded lipstick mark, a framed photo that always fell slightly crooked. Sources say he chose to take what needed to go and let the rest find its own goodbye. Behind the curtain of public fascination is the story of two artists whose worlds met under bright lights and thrived in the glow. The day their connection crossed from colleagues to something tender felt natural to everyone who watched. It started on a project, a spark that outlived cut and action, outlived wraps and premieres, and found its way into something more domestic, more vulnerable. They weren't immune to the frenzy their chemistry ignited. If anything, they found themselves enveloped by it, held up by fans and chased by questions. Yet inside their four walls, it was simpler, long hours learning lines, late dinners, quiet music, mutual friends dropping in and out like family. There were futures sketched out in conversation, subtle, hopeful, dependent on schedules and timing and that unpredictable rhythm the industry keeps. But pressure makes even the strongest lines tremble. The pace of rising careers is both a blessing and a thief, it gives purpose and takes time. What the world saw were two stars shining. What the world didn't see were the moments where that shine had to compete with exhaustion, commitments, and a constant sense of being watched. Disagreements didn't erupt like thunder, they built like mist, barely there and then everywhere, soft but relentless. In the end, stepping apart wasn't an impulsive act, it was a measured acceptance that love can be real and still be unable to survive the schedule it's tethered to. After the separation, insiders describe a hush, no dramatic statements, no cryptic posts. Barış, they say, kept working, returning each night to a place that knew both the beginning and the unraveling. That familiarity became heavy. Even the radio stations he used to listen to started sounding like they were picking sides. Every cushion, every shadow in a hallway, had a habit of recalling a moment he wasn't ready to replay. Friends quietly noticed that he was restless, that the apartment no longer felt like shelter. It felt like a museum he hadn't meant to curate. And so the plan formed. Not a grand exit, but a precise one. Neighbors barely noticed anything beyond a few low conversations and the soft, discreet choreography of movers who had been told to be careful with both boxes and silence. There wasn't a single moment to tip off the cameras outside, no dramatic midnight flurry of taped-up cartons. Instead, he arranged what needed to happen as if he were rewriting a scene, minimal, exact, meaningful. He set a new rule for himself, no delaying. He packed fast, but not carelessly. He wanted the process to feel clean, to end before it began bleeding into another month, another season, another reason to stay just a little longer. To friends, he called this season a pause for breath. He used words like space and clarity. He said he wanted a place where mornings felt uncluttered, where a cup of coffee could be just a cup of coffee instead of a conversation with yesterday. He admitted, in the kind of honesty one reserves for very late nights, that healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just asks for a different set of walls. And what about Yağmur? Her silence speaks in its own way. While headlines scramble to extract meaning from quiet, people close to her point to her work, to the steady rhythm of sets and scripts, to the focus she has turned toward what she can control. She has chosen not to narrate this chapter aloud, and in an age that feeds on reactions, that choice is both powerful and rare. The careful distance between them now feels deliberate, controlled, a way of giving each other the dignity to recalibrate without turning their private decisions into public entertainment. Industry voices interpret the move as a signal, not of finality, but of maturity. You don't choose a new address just for a different view out the window, you choose it because you want to decide what you wake up to. Sources say his new home is pared down and purposeful. Minimal doesn't mean empty. It means intentional. Soft colors, calm lines, a room that catches the morning light just so, less furniture but more air. There are small things he's chosen with care, a plant that needs gentle attention, a stack of books he plans to actually finish, frames not yet filled because not every wall needs a memory right away. He's building a space where work can end at the door and where silence is something to enjoy, not escape. Between call times and long nights on set, he has carved out a promise to himself, to spend time not merely catching up on sleep, but leaning into stillness. To cook for himself. To hear his own thoughts fully. Friends suggest he has a corner meant for music, a habit of lighting one candle at dusk, a deliberate way of letting the day wind down without scrolling through what-ifs. It's a home that asks for presence. It resets the clock. Fans, of course, are divided between nostalgia and applause. Some can't help but remember the shared looks, the small gestures, the light-hearted moments that made them believe in the everydayness of love between two very visible people. Others look at this new direction and see courage, a refusal to linger in what aches, a decision to act when the easiest choice would have been to stay and pretend the room feels the same. From the outside, it might look like a move. From the inside, it's a declaration: I honor what was, and I choose what can be. What comes next is the question that hovers over every coffee shop conversation. In his personal life, will this solitude be a bridge back to himself, or a path that eventually leads towards something new? Professionally, there is a sense that the clarity he's looking for at home will reflect on screen, a steadier gaze, a performance sharpened by an uncluttered mind. Those who know him say he is not running from the past. He's letting it take a seat where it belongs, not at the front row of every decision but in the balcony, appreciated and quiet. Let's not underestimate the discipline it takes to orchestrate a gentle exit in a town that rewards spectacle. This was not a grand gesture for attention. It was a soft, purposeful shift. There were no tips to paparazzi, no boxes emblazoned with labels to be photographed from afar. He didn't want this to become content. He wanted it to become closure. Piece by piece, he made sure that what came with him were the essentials, not the echoes. What stayed behind, stayed with intention, as if to say, not every relic needs to be carried to be honored. More than once, someone who has known him a long time heard him say a variation of the same thought: I need to make room for myself. It's a phrase that sounds simple until you truly try it. Making room means saying no to old patterns, to the instinct to revisit familiar pain because it is, at least, known. Making room means curating your own days with care. In a life dictated by call times and scripts, carving out a quiet morning can be as radical as stepping onto a new set. And if you're wondering whether this choice says something about the bond he once had with Yağmur, understand this: endings don't erase the truth of what came before. Their connection was visible, textured, made of shared efforts and shared vulnerabilities. That's why the distance now is so carefully held. She is focused, present in her work, and resolute in giving no headline the satisfaction of an easy pull quote. He is learning how to live where the hallway doesn't whisper back. It's not antagonism, it's adulthood. Behind the scenes, their circles speak of a process that is measured, respectful, and deliberate. They keep their interactions offstage, creating a boundary that allows time to do its work. It's not dramatic because it doesn't need to be. The most real things rarely are. And as the city moves on, as projects begin and end and begin again, the narrative is no longer a story of two people at once. It's two stories unfolding side by side, shaped by choice rather than pressure. The entertainment world reads signs like astronomers read stars, finding patterns in the faintest glimmer. Here, the constellation is clear. A new address. A simplified life. An emphasis on calm and intention. A willingness to let the past be past without condemning it. To the people who love watching these lives because they mirror our own in larger rooms with brighter lights, this is the chapter where the main character sets the table for himself and leaves a chair open for whatever comes next. And so, we arrive at this moment. A van drives away, a key rests on a new countertop, a phone face down, a window open to a quieter street. It's not the end of a love story or the beginning of another. It's the part where healing looks like ordinary days well lived. It's the true luxury, the one that can't be photographed, peace. We'll keep listening to the whispers and watching the moves that matter, the subtle ones that tell the real story beneath the noise. For now, take this as the clearest signal yet that Baktaş is choosing himself, not in defiance of the past he shared with Yağmur, but in respect for it. He isn't erasing, he's arranging. He isn't hiding, he's home. You're on Turkish series Stars, where we follow the heart of the industry with care and a little bit of daring. If you felt this story, if you heard something familiar in it, hit subscribe, share it with the friend who always reads between the lines, and stay close. The next scene is still unwritten, and when it plays out, you'll hear it here first.